I am an absolute Marvel nut. I read all the comics when I was a kid, I watched all the cartoons, and now they have 20 plus movies, and I can't seem to get enough. I'm very much looking forward to the VR version of Iron Man and any other projects that Marvel has in the works. Avengers Endgame gave Marvel Cinematic Universe diehards plenty of reasons to not want to be Tony Stark. But that film can't entirely dispel the fantasy of taking on the Iron Man role. Now, Avengers Damage Control is a new VR experience from ILM X Lab and Marvel Studios that was produced for The Void. They're a high-powered virtual reality experience that has also been the platform for Ghostbusters and Star Wars VR experiences. In the new one, Marvel fans take control of a new suit, which is seemingly inspired by the nanotech Iron Man suits seen in Infinity War and Endgame, but designed by Wakanda's most brilliant engineer, Shuri. A trailer for Avengers Damage Control takes players to Wakanda, where people are being recruited to pilot new Iron Man suits. They're a mix between various recognizable Stark designs, but with Black Panther aesthetics thrown in. The eyes are narrower, like Black Panther's mask, and the purple coloring is more in line with Wakanda's king than with Tony Stark's gold and red standards. People play in teams of 4 to test the design and take on familiar enemies from the Avengers past that want to steal the technology. That's according to a description for the game. Teams must stop the enemy before they unleash an impressive new age upon the planet. There will be appearances from Avengers like Doctor Strange, Wasp, and Ant-Man, alongside others. It's unclear whether actors Benedict Cumberbatch or Paul Rudd will reprise those specific roles, but considering it's a Marvel Studios project, it seems likely that they will. Avengers Damage Control will release for a limited time on October 18th. Locations participating in the event can be found on the Void's website along with ticket purchases. Jason Levin stood on a hill on a Southern California ranch in late July and prepared to destroy a drone. First, he grabbed the controls for an Up Air 1, a remote-controlled hobbyist model that retails for about $300. He steered it until it was hovering about 100 feet above the ground. Next, he used a laptop to activate a system he'd spent the past several months building. A second drone, roughly the size of the Up Air quadricopter, spun into action, buzzing like a mechanical wasp as it ascended to about 20 feet below its target. As it hovered, a crowd of colleagues gathered around. A prompt appearance on screen asking for permission to attack. Levin tapped a button, and the second drone, dubbed the Interceptor, shot upwards, striking the Up Air 1 at 100 miles an hour. The two aircraft somersaulted skyward briefly, and then they plummeted back to Earth and landed with 2 satisfying thuds. Levin grinned and explained that he hadn't been controlling the Interceptor after telling it to attack. It finds targets and steers towards them on its own. If the first collision doesn't take its target down, the drone can then circle back around and strike a second and third time all by itself. It's a good feeling as an engineer, he said. You've put in your work and it knows what to do. It's like sending your kid off to college. The Pentagon has spent years searching for reliable ways to combat consumer drones that have been repurposed as reconnaissance craft or bombers. Andrill Industries, the 2-year-old startup in Irvine, California, where Levin is one of about 130 employees, began shipping interceptors to military clients in the US and the UK earlier this year. It sent dozens so far and has hundreds more in production. The company says its most recent contract is to deploy interceptors overseas to conflict zones, though it declines to provide additional details. This summer, it raised $120 million from venture capital firms. Investors valued the company at about $1 billion, 4 times its last funding round in 2018. Andrill already had contracts to build surveillance systems on military bases and along the Mexican border using towers and drones packed with cameras and other sensors. Its software then processes the field data, alerting officers and soldiers to possible disturbances. but the company wants to move beyond simply identifying threats using computers. The interceptor, which Anduril hasn't previously discussed publicly, is its first computer-operated weapon. Anduril says it now takes in twice as much revenue from the military as from CBP, and argues that there should be nothing controversial about providing security on bases. But the Interceptor project steers it towards another hot-button technological issue: the development and deployment of autonomous weapons. As Anduril rushed to refine its earlier prototypes, the military ordered a handful to try out. By summer, the company was claiming a near-perfect success rate. Newer versions of the drone can reach speeds of up to 200 miles per hour or even more, potentially enough to knock larger projectiles from the sky. Anduril has begun building prototypes to take out larger targets as well. Anduril plans to sell the counter-drone systems to commercial consumers and has held preliminary discussions now with oil and gas companies and others that have to police large, wide-open spaces. Last year, we had a look at TG3D Studio's Schematic 360 body scanner, which susses out your body's measurements so you know exactly what clothing size to get at the store. Now the company has renamed it to VTO, stands for Virtual Try-On by Schematic for Fashion, and has upgraded it so it can capture higher density scans, making them much more accurate than before. This way, you can see just how the clothes will fit on your body, hopefully making it that much easier to get the right outfit for your body type. To try it, you'll need to use a scanning app, which can either be a store-branded one or an app like CloudZet. All you have to do is step into the designated area and walk through the instructions on the app. Standing straight with your arms spread out and your hands clenched in a loose fist, several inches away from your hips. Previous versions of the body scanner used a pair of handlebars to help guide your position, but that's no longer needed here. It does, however, recommend that you use the scanner using skin-tight clothing for the most accurate measurements. In just 3 seconds, the scanner is done, and it records the measurements of your neck, shoulders, chest, and so on. The app presents you with about 10 data points, but a retailer or tailor could have as many as 150 data points to really map out your entire body. Once your avatar is mapped out, then you can start dressing it in different clothes to see how you would look in them. TG3D Studio says the designers and clothing manufacturers can use the same scanning tech to map out original production designs exactly, and are able to capture not just the shape of the clothes, but the silhouette, drape, and texture of the fabric. Of course, these scanners are not meant for consumer use. TG3D Studios imagines that they'll be used by more fashion companies, designers, and perhaps tech-centric tailors of the future. It'll be likely a few more years before we'll see anything like this in your local mall, however.